Hello, Felix. Here you go. Boom.
This is about bots. I think it's more like Rajano never get to be asking the questions and know the answers.
You know, because I'm quickly soon,
so
man.
The point of the Ronaldo YouTube, right? So people finally get to see a different part of Ronaldo.
Man,
right?
these
so even
people
though
don't
he's
like
an
it,
interviewer
man.
and he
They
has
don't
a guest,
like it.
right? I
What
feel
the
like they
fuck
didn't do a really good
is
job
wrong with these
at
chatters,
introducing
dude?
Ronaldo to the format that
How
he
do you
probably
not
wants
like the
to have,
bonk?
right? So here,
How do you not love to bonk?
So usually it's a balance.
How do you not love getting balled?
And the guest knowing you, right? At the same time,
Do you not love
audience
balls?
gets to know
What the
both.
fuck is wrong with
because
you?
the reality is, his viewers of Ronaldo don't know that much about
Of course
Ronaldo.
I love balls, man.
Well, yeah, about Ronaldo and Mr. Beast.
Man,
And
this
it's
is
like
bullshit.
a balance. But there we got like none of each.
You go through all of this effort, and then they just do nothing. It just does nothing, man. Okay, maybe the map picks were terrible this time, but man, come on.
To bots or people pretending to be
I'll ask
your
some more
American
maps
or Western
to my
European
list.
neighbors working in this office building, a massive troll farm in St. Petersburg, Russia. We're going to explore who you've been interacting with, what tools they're using, and how much they're being paid to do it. And we're even going to look at some guidelines that a fake social media user has to follow when interacting with you. Most importantly, we're going to go very deep into understanding how misinformation works and why it's a thing. This video is going to be fucking wild, so let's just get on with it.
Such interesting. Guys, you think it's only noobs that reply to bots? I did it.
Yeah, the reason I'm here is that I was sent here to learn more about the West.
I'm kind of dumb, not that dumb.
I've been fascinated with postmodern politics pretty much my entire adult life, at least since 9/11. If there's a book about it, it's probably on my bookshelf. I named an entire album after it. This era of existentialism and politics blending seamlessly at a time when there's incredible technology emerging is a very strange place in history that will probably be remembered for as long as humans exist. Politics have always contained a generous helping of bullshit and exaggeration, but what we are experiencing in America and many European countries right now is not that.
Ja, is goed, waar heb je bestellen?
Hiding from the truth. It is intentional, rampant public.
Chat. Am I wrong? I think he's wearing so much makeup that
Ik wil wel een
screen looks
supertje.
blurry.
Obfuscation of truth's definition. It's called the post-truth era. Or
Ja, zeg maar wanneer het
I'm
klaar
going to do
is.
my best to approach this with as little political bias as possible, because wherever you are on the political compass, whether you agree with me or disagree with me, misinformation is an attack on you.
True.
And to understand how and why that works, we have to go back to the turn of the century, as post-Soviet Russia was recovering from hyperinflation and dealing with extreme social dysfunction, and this resulted in a higher per capita homicide rate than anywhere in the world today. In the early 2000s, the Russian government dealt with their social dysfunction problem by getting covertly involved with youth movements and fringe political parties. At the time, a man named Vladislav Surkov was hired as a close advisor to Vladimir Putin. And remember the name Surkov because he is quite possibly one of the most fascinating and important figures in contemporary politics, and I bet that by the end of this video you will agree with me. This might be a little bit of an oversimplification, but Surkov believed that instead of trying to hide truth from people, you attack truth itself. For example, some of the people that Vladimir Putin had allegedly had killed or assassinated ended up turning up alive months or years later. Others were revealed to be Putin loyalists that were suspected to have been killed by radicalist groups that opposed Putin. Putin repeatedly warned of opposition parties staging a false flag operation by executing their own leaders and then pinning it on Moscow, and then both real and fake bloggers speculated on who that might be and what that might mean. So when the time came for Putin's political rival Boris Nemtsov to be shot and killed down the street from the Kremlin the night before a large rally he had organized, the truth was so obscure for people that they just chose their own personal ideal realities. Putin loyalists blamed his critics, and Putin's critics blamed him. And in this thick fog, over the decades, hundreds of journalists were murdered, imprisoned, or deported under Putin's leadership. After the financial crisis, as the Arab Spring and Occupy movements were gaining traction and spreading in the West, Surkov had the Kremlin supporting more youth movements such as the anti-fascist group Nashi and right-wing nationalist group Project Network and Project Set, among plenty of others with sometimes violently opposing ideals. The key difference this time is that it wasn't a secret.
Chat, for the sake of the video, chat, I will agree with most information being given, and if it's end up being being wrong, then it sucks, but we'll go back at one point.
Administration was completely open about it. Every group enjoying the financial and political support of the Kremlin now knew that their opponents were too. Every voter whose interests had parity or commonality with one of the groups now realized that a government that they hated or loved was supporting it and the group opposing it, and vice versa. If the run-on sentence that just came out of my mouth is a little bit hard to follow, good. That's the whole point. Imagine being a politically active Russian citizen at the time. It was absolutely confusing by design, and Surkov had realized that the path to definite, unchallenged power is one where objectivity, logic, and truth are removed. You cannot defeat what you cannot define. In 2013, notorious oligarch and leader of the Wagner mercenary group, Yevgeny Prigozhin, also known as the saddest thumb in Russia, formally started the Internet Research Agency in St. Petersburg, which was in close collaboration with Moscow and therefore Surkov. So in 2014, the operating budget of the IRA was close to $1 million a month. And the reason I'm using US dollars in this video is because the Russian ruble's value has been kind of all over the place in the last few decades, to say the least. This monthly million or so dollars paid for around 300 employees to write around 30,000 posts. I was lucky enough to find somebody who had this job and who had secretly saved documents, and they were paid what would roughly amount to between $900 and $1,200 US dollars per month. And this is adjusted for inflation, so not really great money. They would typically hire anybody willing to work for a data entry job listing, and then they would be required to sign an NDA before finding out what they would be doing. Allegedly, some of the people that took the job ended up not being able to read or write well, even in Russian, and had to be let go. And most of those who remained found the work agonizing. So the average employee retention was only a few months. So early on, most of this work was done on Facebook or VK, and it was mostly concerned with regional issues, such as puppet accounts pretending to be Russian nationalists living in Ukraine, calling for the annexation of their own country. And some relatively advanced marketing tactics were used. One such tactic was repetitive association.
US is an oligarchy.
Yeah. This guy's targeting a lot more Russians. I guess it's part of the video that he's doing, whatever. But dude, in America, don't think it's like some, oh guys, only Russia does this. Bro, everybody does this shit. This is a global problem.
Does not hold all the power. Don't pretend like companies like Microsoft, Google, Sony, fucking BlackRock don't hold all the power. Alright,
and I'm sorry you can't unsee this ever. So let's just call him P-head Putin.
Yeah, it's oligarchy.
I don't have any sort of thing to tell you about.
You just don't know it because you're delusional. Or you're retarded.
P-head Putin wants
fucking
to
bitch.
Ukraine.
I hate you,
Some people
motherfucker.
believe that
I fucking hate you,
Putin
bitch.
wants to recreate the Russian Empire and renegotiate the end of the Cold War. Some believe that he's desiring total world domination inside that little P-head of his. Months and years of this over and over might make you take this person a little bit less seriously as a leader. And it's actually effective. And think about where else you may have seen
this. Is just odd. This is just odd.
Lion Ted. What's your name? My name's Lion Ted Cruz. Crooked Hillary, Sleepy Joe, and Crazy Bernie.
But very quickly, within a few years, the IRA program aggressively expanded and set their sights.
When you show bias towards something and to the point where you do your personal attacks, whatever, right? Yeah, I get it. I'm not trying to be a Putin defender, whatever. It's not about that. The information you're going to say about stuff that is inclined towards, it's going to look like it's biased. It tarnishes everything else. That's all I'm saying.
On the upcoming 2016 elections in the United States. When doing research and interviews
for
this video, I obtained quite a few documents, and my favorite of those documents are the guideline that troll farm workers have to follow when interacting with Americans.
And it's the point that you're missing. My point.
Share the documents down below, but here are some highlights of how the troll campaign works. So each troll farm employee must make 2 different tiers of troll accounts, and in the first tier you have to purchase 20 pre-existing Facebook accounts with pre-existing community membership.
Okay guys, what if I say, guys, I will tell you today 20 actual real facts about super orange face Donald Trump lol magatard Andy. Do you think that these 20 truths are maybe curated, maybe cherry-picked, maybe they're biased? Well, yeah, now you absolutely know 100% where I'm coming from because of how I presented that person. Does that make sense? Now you're kind of on the defensive. I'm just saying, as a viewer, that's how I feel.
memberships. So the second tier is newly created accounts that supports the first tier, and the second tier will follow
you can be funny, but
local politicians
or try to be funny, but
join Facebook groups and make friends with real Americans.
If you're just gonna make fun
photos and statuses and life
of a
updates
guy
and
all
news
the
articles
time,
about things unrelated to politics, a minimum of once every 3 days. Nowadays, it's safe to assume that the amount spent on
like you're
troll farms
actually
and
being
bots
critical.
eclipses the 2016
Just
election cycle. It's more rampant than it's ever been. But even back in 2016, when you go through the reports of the tiny sliver of things that have been proven to be Russian trolling, it's staggering. There are images, videos, posts, entire online campaigns that I personally remember seeing that ended up being 100% intentionally fabricated.
Chat.
If you're an American...
Chat, in America, chat, we have this for streamers. I'm not even kidding it. This actually exists for streamers, okay? I'm not gonna show proof or anything like that. I don't want to throw everybody under the bus, okay? But all the main accounts literally work and talk with streamers in DMs and group DMs, right? And they coordinate posts and shit like that. They absolutely do 100%, and they just fucking just to promote and have this symbiotic relationship. That's what it is actually happening. You saying that it doesn't? It's insane.
American or European watching this, your political reality and memories are partially manipulated by the Russian government. Oh, and I am very aware that at this point we are all accustomed to hearing the broken record of Russian interference. And depending on your politics, you either imagine Trump using propaganda to steal an election, or you imagine a giant hoax played out by the Democrats. And if you've paid attention to this video so far, contemplating the fact that there is no middle ground or compromise between those two things should hit you like a sack of bricks. It's also worth noting that virtually every
I keep watching it
so far, contemplating the fact that there is no middle ground or compromise between those two things should hit you like a sack of bricks. It's also worth noting that virtually every populated country has a troll farm these days to try and manipulate their own affairs, including the United States. And while Russia is the proud leader in international psyops, Iran is suspected to have troll farms that are interfering with American politics as well. When people think of Russian misinformation, they associate it with Donald Trump. These troll farms were very involved in Bernie Sanders' 2016 campaign. They were involved in Black Lives Matter accounts and Facebook pages and white supremacist rallies. The goal isn't to make America right-wing, it's just that right-wing influencers and politicians seem to be more sorry but gullible when it comes to amplifying misinformation.
You have to wonder why they care so much about money and other resources going to a famously...
Now do the research between what Elon Musk retweets and talks about and quote tweets or whatever, right? And link to whatever he's requoting or tweeting, right? Link those guys to where they got their information from, and then you're gonna have a perfect cycle.
Corrupt country. Is it crucial that the money and those resources are actually fighting Putin, or is it crucial that the money and resources do other things? These politicians might have some significant interest in where the money and resources go in that particular famously corrupt country.
Funding a government in Ukraine that's putting priests in jail, sending the army in to close churches, and coming to a Russian grocery store, the heart of evil, it will radicalize you against our leader.
So how does this all work? For example, in the last week alone, there have been numerous leaks of U.S. ballot counters of poll workers destroying votes, and those videos were entirely fabricated and filmed by Russian troll farms. How exactly does that wind up on your feed? Okay, so this part gets dark, really dark. Telegram is notoriously filled with CSAM, or child sexual abuse material. In fact, the CEO, Russian-born Pavel Durov, was just controversially arrested in France a few months ago in relation to this, as Telegram proudly ignores court orders, warrants, watchdog groups, or user reports flagging CSAM on its servers. Just one nonprofit group, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, has received over 570,000 reports of CSAM on Telegram. There's a staggering amount of Telegram group chats and channels that obtain the material through hacking or blackmail and then use the chat's file retention to host it while charging users cryptocurrency for an invitation to the chat and access to the content. If there's one positive thing about this, it's that this improvised payment gateway limits the spread of the material and makes it less likely to show up in unrelated channels. But unfortunately, recently, that's changing now too. There are tons of really popular random Telegram channels with hundreds of thousands of users and they're completely open to the public, and they're in both Russian and English, and on them, anything goes. And please watch the rest of this segment before checking them out for yourself. These channels or groups attract a younger, male, edgy audience looking for content that would otherwise be censored or moderated elsewhere on the internet. And wherever you are on the political spectrum, I'm assuming that we can agree that that personality type is more likely to be a political extremist. So it turns out that more than a few of these channels are set up and moderated by Russian troll farms who feed them a variety of crazy viral videos containing assault, death and nudity, war propaganda videos, political propaganda leaks, and allegedly porn and shares and leaks from the CSAM channels. I wouldn't recommend ever joining one of these channels under any circumstances.
Wait, wow.
From the CSAM channels. I wouldn't recommend ever joining one of these channels under any circumstances, as there may be more to this than simply just using illegal content to lure edgy Americans and being fed misinformation. If someone is posting zero-day manufactured political propaganda on X, there's a realistic chance that they have unencrypted thumbnails of all of the media that they've encountered on those Telegram channels stored locally on their computer or from Telegram cache, even if they weren't seeking out illegal content and even if they didn't download anything. All I'm saying is that the fingerprints and tracks many of these users are leaving behind opens a lot of opportunity for blackmail or extortion, and I think that there's a chance that there's a bigger story behind that. So our zero-day user shares the leak, in this case saving the video from Telegram and uploading it to X, and this video surfaced 4 days ago on October 31st, showing Haitian migrants multiple times right here in and around Atlanta, Georgia. Now the FBI, CISA, ODNI, to name a few.
It's not that Russian bots are right-wing. I think that the main point was that right-wing Andes are more prone to fucking retweet and not the research and fucking just fucking go along with whatever is. Ooh, this is a conspiracy because they're looking for conspiracy. And that's just what it is. So they'll bite more often.
All flagged it as disinformation using an influence act. I used creepy facial recognition to find multiple matches of a South African actor. I'm not going to dox him, but I'm pretty sure that this guy was at a film festival in Cape Town a month ago. So Alpha Fox 78, a popular meme and crypto account operated by an unknown person, also re-uploaded the video to X, and that video got reposted by a lot of.
It's not a take it. It's a reality. Okay, how many conspiracy theories that are pretty far-fetched comes from the left? Probably a lot. How many from the right? Well, a colossal amount. That difference in between the both, right, makes the right. Or people that are more right-wing, to bite more often on a piece that could be baity or baiting a potential conspiracy, just by the numbers. That's all this means. Doesn't mean that it's bad or good.
On October 31st.
By numbers. Sure volume.
Repeatedly by Amy Kramer, the Republican National Convention Committee woman for Georgia. And after the very Republican Georgia governor and Secretary of State both told her that it was disinformation, she wrote a novel about her rights and blamed everybody else, and still, 4 days later, has not removed the fake video.
Think about the most of the bigger claims currently. Well, think about all the hoax you think of them, right? All the hoax or all the things, right? That being said, the dogs and the cats, the school shooting thing, the Boston bombing is fake and actors, all of that. The people that were cooperating, the people that bid on those, and the people that investigate those channels and really were added the voice about that. All or most right wing. What about it? the hurricanes, the voting machines, the dogs and cats. What else? The vaccines. Yeah, okay. I'm sure there are some of them that are more
real true.
More by level, sure, but by sheer
real
volume,
true.
less. Why are you offended by that?
Minimize the video. Hey, let's pause for a moment and acknowledge these X users' freedom of speech, even though it's not a First Amendment issue because X is not the government, but you know what I'm saying. If I were to, I don't know, upload a short clip from last night.
Last pause for a little bit.
How long would it?
Okay. Misinformation moves at a faster rate than accurate information. People say some documentaries, some stats say eight times more misinformation. Okay. Even if you were to have no bias and then you explore theories, whatever, right? Even though, right, if you get one that is actually ends up being false, whatever, right? Well, you cause a lot more damage than not. Therefore, the people on the right that are looking more for it, that are more prone to go into that, when they get baited by that, the damage is a lot. They're just a more potent tool for those troll farms. Legitimately, they're the targets.
To take X to intervene and remove it? Well, I did, and the answer is 9 minutes. So the mechanism to automatically moderate content is certainly still there. It's just apparently disabled or very slow when it comes to foreign misinformation. You know what we should do? Let's revisit the X/Twitter timeline in the last 2 years, because many of my viewers will remember almost all of this stuff, but it hits pretty hard when you see it all in one place.
Sure. I'm gonna
In October of 2022, Twitter had a fair valuation of about $30 billion, and after a whole year of unsuccessful scheming and negotiating, Elon bought Twitter for $44 billion. Despite being the wealthiest man in history at the time, Elon borrowed about a third of this from lenders like Morgan Stanley, Fidelity, Barclays, and so on. And of course, Elon has not paid back the debt to these banks, and the loan is now widely regarded as the worst buyout deal for banks since the 2008 financial crisis. A month later, banned and suspended accounts were reinstated in mass, including but not limited to accounts that were banned for inciting violence, bots, and confirmed misinformation trolling accounts. Also in that month, Twitter verification was completely overhauled and monetized. You used to require multiple high-level news sources citing you as a notable person to get verification. Now, anybody with a prepaid foreign credit card could easily become a verified member.
Which I think kind of helps, or should help in theory, because if somebody gets a hold of those verified accounts, which a lot of them were dog shit, it gives them a lot more power. Because it concentrates, it says, oh, blue check mark, you're above, you're always gonna be above, and then you have power. So what happens when you use that? The same argument applies to the right-wing thing. What if you use that to nefarious ends? People that have a much louder voice, and they can cause a lot more damage. That weapon is amplified.
That gets prioritized in the algorithm.
Because what? Because you're verified, because you're blue, because you're check mark? Wow. Guys, I know better. My information is worth more to the public because I have a blue check mark. Well, now it's different. Now it's, oh, my information is worth more because I paid $8. What do you think more damage you want? I don't think the first one's more damaging.
Virtually everyone's inbox looked like this as bots overwhelmingly took over the majority of direct message contact on the site. The FTC even got involved, but not as much as the EU, and we'll get to that very soon. January of 2023, the entire misinformation and electricity team is...
Let's go to an example. What do you think is a better version of the truth? Sub-only chat or streamer-only chat? What do you think is the more problematic one? When it comes down to information spread or whatever, streamer-only chat. Why? Because they are big and, we have authority because we're part of whatever, right? And they gain from the information. So therefore, they're more prone to say dumb shit and twist the truth because they gain from it. Therefore, the $8 check mark is less damaging as the other one.
Fired. A month later, API access is closed and put behind an extraordinarily expensive payment gateway. API access allows you to reconnect and even post without loading the entire user interface.
It's that the people in power, they already have the power. Money is power with soft power.
If you're a social media company, you want people accessing your site from things like index search engines. That's how you get new users.
It's still bad
Reddit, who was just recently massively boycotted
to have the paywall. It's better than not having it.
It's also potentially legally problematic to invite users to create and post content to the public.
Not unheard of, but
decide to lock it up behind a paywall from the public.
Or it's better than not having it, but still having the check mark that makes you more seen because of what type of person you are, because then you're assuming that this person has better things to say, which isn't necessarily true. Even if they have credentials, it's not necessarily true. People can say dumb shit regardless of who they are. People can say good shit regardless of who they are. Some unknown, unchecked mark, random guy can say that they can cook, really cook, and never be seen because Twitter doesn't allow it.
What? You gotta pause the video if you're gonna do something like that.
Grok, try. This wasn't deemed.
But now it's just because the amount of people that have checkmark more, you get more of those outward opinions rather than just getting what you get from the people that are already known. Which is bad, right? Because it stagnates in a way. You only have the people that are already popular that are only getting seen, and it's the only thing you see, right? It's never changing. It will never change. So yeah, I'm glazing Elon, but yeah, this platform is dog shit. Just make it free. You should not have this biased bullshit on your fucking platform, bitch. Fuck you. Fuck you. Right, stop being schizo. They're not trying to ban your platform because they don't like you. You fucking suck ass, man. The only thing they're gonna do is, once you actually get power, they're gonna suck it to you because they also get power. So...
I just bookmark stuff that's odd, and you would be questionable if you saw them, right? But sometimes I see something like,
retards.
I want to read this, or I want to investigate this, or whatever, but I don't have time right now because I don't have time right now. So I just bookmark it and come back later, right? Even though it's weird, right? So I had a bunch of like odd stuff, but now I have likes. I don't have to do it anymore. Now I just like something that's very weird. I come back later to read it because it's faster. That's all. But I wish I didn't have that. I could like something because I want to like it, right? But if I want to do that, I can just bookmark it.
October of 2024. The block feature is now mostly removed. Also now in a hilarious feast of irony, a lot of human users got so sick of bots that they started using extensions that block all verified profiles. And a month before the election, the site intentionally broke all of them and restored the bots' freedom to post shit on your timeline. And while I was swimming deep, intentionally broke all of them and restored the bots' freedom to post shit on your timeline. And while I was swimming deep up X's butthole analyzing fake accounts, just 2 weeks before the election, the API access fees unexplainably doubled. And then, just a few weeks ago, a report confirmed by US, former Russian, and European officials shows that starting in 2022, Elon Musk and Vladimir Putin have been secretly in regular contact. Now, this is just my opinion, but this seems a little bit more problematic when you consider that he's also spent $118 million trying to get Trump elected, literally paying people upfront money to sign politically charged oaths in swing states. But there's something way more fucked up about this. Elon Musk controls SpaceX, which has billions upon billions of dollars in confidential US military contracts and a direct, constant working relationship with the NSA and Pentagon. I would imagine that somebody visiting NORAD would have to disclose an ongoing relationship with the leader of a foreign adversary and nuclear power, right? The original mission of this video was to find out roughly what percentage of X users were bots, and we do need to define what a bot is first. When I say bot in this video, I'm casting a bit of a wider net than just your run-of-the-mill chatbot, and it's not like using an AI model and human trolling need to be.
Guys, it is tough because
so you take 30 minutes just to get to that point?
Guesses and accusations, whatever, right, that might be wrong, which also can probably feed into misinformation. And what he would, on the other side,
well, that's time waste.
Reverse the coin, would probably call out as, oh, it is just misinformation.
That's time waste.
After all, any good bot needs to be set up
30 fucking minutes just to get to the point.
User who's using AI or databases to find, like, repost, or
it's a classic YouTube video, isn't it?
Of fooling human users. So that guy who's a big sports fan.
Right, just because you sit down, just because you have a nice lighting, doesn't mean that you have shit to say. You're wasting my time, man. You're wasting my time. You don't have shit to say. That's where you sit down and make people think like you're cooking, but you're not cooking at all. You're being retarded. You're being a retard. Fucking retard.
So what do you call actual bots? Superbots? It's bad to make the definition something that isn't what it actually is. Because now we lose track of what's a bot, what's a troll, what's a paid troll, what's a super bot. Like, we don't know what's AI. We don't know what the fuck happens anymore. Because as I said, it's all bots that don't agree with it.
Requirements, many of them found their way there. There are bots that monitor any mention of cryptocurrency, there are follower bots for paid services, and there's really no shortage of opportunists in general. One impressive type of bot that I've encountered a few times is if somebody mentions that they want a shirt that says something or has a specific logo on it, and then a bot responds within a few minutes with a link to a web shop cloning the designer, parsing the quote, and then pasting it onto a shirt template. So traditionally, these are at best trying to provide a service someone might want, and at worst trying to scam someone out of the money. But these days, with a tool belt of large language models like OpenAI, bots have exploded in both population and capability. On January 7th of this year, something really spooky happened on X.
Explain the difference between bots and troll. Okay, so the problem that I have is that so a bot would do this shit automatically, right? It's very one-sided. They don't exist, they don't reply, right? It's all automatic. If it's something that does it humanly, it's inherently different. Because the bots, it's automatic. Well, one being manual means that they'll probably...
It's fucking chatters, man. Always ads. It's always ads in my chat. It's the only thing that I get is it.
Because you can both curate the experience
I keep talking about it. Every time I keep talking about it, they're never going to listen because it's always a different guy.
It's the same goal. I still think.
Oh, there's so many people that try to add to this.
Interactions. A whole lot of those people
I'm not going to get big. I don't have money to pay you, and you don't have anything to give me of value. So fuck you and get out of my chat, bitch.
Edgelord, anti-woke grokbot. OpenAI does have some content restrictions in an attempt to prevent misinformation. And while you can try to fine-tune your model around them, when they change a small rule or filter, you risk ending up with hundreds of thousands of seemingly legitimate users apologizing about OpenAI's acceptable use policy. But there's another popular option that I didn't even realize existed until speaking to some software engineers who used to manage them. Dolphin, and more specifically, Llama 370B, which actually was my nickname in high school. So Dolphin is a fine-tuned version of Mistral AI that runs locally and has very few restrictions comparatively, and Llama is an open and highly customizable language model that would allow a hired developer to customize and deploy locally, as in on any computer that has a modern GPU. This makes it possible to remove any and all third-party services between you and your bot, which prevents things like the OpenAI glitch from happening and reduces logging and detection. I spent a few days setting up some of these models, but fine-tuning them was obviously a bit over my head, but I did manage to get them to generate thousands of phrases and responses in correspondence with political news posts from accounts that tend to feed into misinformation frequently. Then I tried to find commonly used adjectives and adverbs that strayed a bit from what you would see in your typical English language conversation on Medium, Reddit, and Facebook. And that could create a scoring system that I could use to indicate or red flag accounts that are AI generated, but sadly, it didn't yield results that I was confident with. One thing I did realize is that if you make word clouds from Elon Musk's last 2 weeks of tweets, and if you compare them to word clouds from confirmed troll farm accounts, you can't tell the difference. It's useful to search for bots during specific time periods. For example, last year, a team at Queensland University.
Well, if you do the research and you get the data, it'd be fun to present the data and more than a screenshot that's being zoomed out. Well, I think it would be fun to see it because I think I'm actually watching the actual data and seeing those graphs than that.
Technology used grant money to analyze over 1 million tweets during the Republican primary debates. They found that over 1/3 of those tweets were coming from generative AI models, and this was later supported by unassociated studies. In comparison, bot traffic only makes up about 2% of the content on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. Am I the only one having trouble digesting the idea that 1 out of 3 people I'm engaging with are high-tech tape recorders? And it gets way more ridiculous. Earlier this year, the cybersecurity firm Check ran a deep analysis on X's Super Bowl traffic.
Well, okay, I will do give it to X though. A lot of the bot shit is down below, way down in the comments. If you scroll forever, and it's like not even bots. You would have to do a weird yes. When we at the bottom, yes, there is bot at the top for sure, right? Bots, real bot. But at the bottom, when you go to it's all bots. I'm saying the density changes it from top to bottom, so your interaction isn't those stats themselves. I'm not lost, I'm right.
Found that as much as 76% was coming from fake accounts, leading to over 17 billion paid Super Bowl ad views that were not actually being delivered to anyone. Just a few weeks ago, while I was already working on this video, a Cyanber report showed that when Elon Musk was positioning himself against Kamala Harris on X, over 40% of the activity was driven by inauthentic accounts. And they had confirmed what I had already learned and mentioned earlier.
Okay. I will draw this one time and then we move on. Let's say this is a post, okay? And let me just grid it up real quick.
Here we go.
Hold on.
Here we go.
Okay. Then I'll do this. Hold on. Yeah, don't skip this, okay? It's important, guys.
It's a pattern. It's the patterns. Okay. There are patterns here. You don't know, but there are patterns here. Okay.
Real. Bot. Real. Bot. Real. Bot. Okay. Let's say this is what's up. Okay. The average user, when doing a post, can we agree at least that you're gonna scroll through about this much at most in between that bracket? Can we agree to that? At least.
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna keep scrolling like a maniac. The replies. If this bot percentage is 80%, and this bot percentage at the bottom that you don't really view is like 95%, then you cannot say that, oh guys, the content I interact with is 90% bots. It's gonna be more towards the top layer percentage, right? So if you present those stats, you cannot say, well, I interact on average with 1/3 of bots because 1/3 is bots. Well, that's not really how that works. The number is gonna be definitely skewed towards a representation that is a little bit less bots, even though marginally That's what I'm saying.
Earlier in this video, I'll quote them. 2 distinct bot clusters working in tandem to amplify traffic and drive engagement. And as of last May of 2024, they found that bots had increased on the platform by 10-fold.
Hey, I'm the person who does all the editing and motion graphics grunt work for this channel. It's been an interesting last 10 or 11 days since the election. So a few days ago, I got a
fuck is all in the background, man?
which should, at least the pre-publish should be
You are
public,
not a musician. You are not a musician,
staggering
man.
amount
What
of algorithm
the
manipulation
fuck
towards right-wing accounts starting in July of 2024.
I believe
For
that.
example, the yellow line here is Elon Musk's retweets, and then
What is
the
he
green
cooking?
is the base average of the site, and then boom, look how far this starts deviating, especially once you get right near the election. Okay, I just have a hunch here. Elon Musk endorse Trump tweet. That is literally the day of the unified change point. And here's something that is batshit insane, but not surprising at all.
Could that? Oh, that's tough. I feel like you can't just look at something and just interpret it like you want to. Chat, I feel like, especially people that are like more like right wing, whatever. I think they're more like loyal, like almost like combatant, like almost like militant, which isn't a bad thing, right? I think somebody endorses somebody, they might say, oh, this guy's on our side. Now I follow. Now I like. Now I look at his tweets, right? And by density, you're gonna see a lot more on your feed of that. I'm just saying. I feel like it's not. You can't just look at stats and say, well, I'm right that this is manipulated because it lines up in the stats. Well, at the same time, the guy on the website that has a lot of traffic endorses somebody. Well, that's a major deal. People are gonna be like, they're gonna parade and chant that. Like your bound is an increase.
To me, the red is Republican
Otherwise, government is biased,
who is Democrat. Here we have favorites, and then by far the most scamming of all is the view counts. Look at that. That is nuts. Here's what I think. This is my personal conclusion, and yeah, it's probably a little bit biased. At this point in time, you should always be asking yourself if social media users or features are separating you from your own instincts or logical conclusions, because this isn't political.
Elon created a social system for showing you all these tweets first. Brother, I've been saying that. But if this was bad maybe last year. This year though,
True.
I've
been saying that.
That shit is fucking. It's like brain rot. Like when I'm not using the real term of brain rot.
It's obvious, like.
They twisted the knob to like
Never, it doesn't matter if you block him, it doesn't matter if you never watch and never click on it, never reply, never do anything with it. You always get an Elon tweet all the way at the top of your platform, man. It's garbage. Your For You page, Elon's at the top. For You page, Elon is at the top.
So exhausting that you're too worn down to care that
Come on, man.
drinking water. You're too worn down to care that
And then you say it's free speech. Yet you put yourself at the top all the time, every time. It's always you. It's all about you, isn't it, Elon? It's all about you. Right? That's what Twitter feels like. All these people, they come on there and they talk about all of this, about the entire world, about everything, about society, right? And then they think to themselves, this is all of this, right? It's all about me. It's all about me. That's what they think. That's fucking Twitter. It's all the time. Twitter, it's either narcissistic retards or bots. It's nothing in between. Right? The jokes are funny. It's been garbage. It's fucking trash. It's fucking trash. How the fuck did this happen, man? How the fuck did this happen? Like the bots, that's a problem. But man, how does this platform make people into a bunch of narcissists? Why is it only narcissists that use the platform?
This is more of the understanding that, hey, look, this is happening. This is what's being currently done. Not that it's bad, whatever, right? It's an analysis, I think. Well, this is negative advice. My analysis is more like, oh, analysis more. I feel like.
From that stuff for you, it hopefully still will be in the future. As you may or may not know, I typically don't do ad reads or sponsorships on this channel, but if
you say it is bad, but the minute that you
sponsored skip,
$8 to have
sponsored
more
skip,
authority, you probably
sponsored
skip, and you probably have blue check mark. So you're not like any better in this interaction, are you?
skip actually fits and it will benefit a charity. So a few times earlier this year, a company called Brown News reached out about a sponsorship via email, and just from the description of what it was, I was curious, I checked it out, and I didn't actually respond to any of the emails. I ended up pretty much exclusively